Hello and welcome back to the Lehigh Valley Arts Podcast, where we explore the local arts culture and community in the Lehigh Valley. We'll be doing this through conversations with individual artists, administrators, and organizations. We'll discuss all types of mediums with the goal of enriching local arts culture.
Welcome back to the Lehigh Valley Arts Podcast. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Elise.
And thanks for tuning in.
Elizabeth, we have not talked in a while about you being a singer, songwriter, and guitarist. What are you currently working on?
Currently, I'm working on writing a song based on life experiences through adoption, which has been a really interesting and unique experience, along with having some volunteer work, being a musical instructor for a youth band.
Very cool. Are you teaching instrumental music, singing, or guitar, or just like how they can work collaboratively as a band?
More so collaboratively as a band.
Okay.
They haven't worked together before, so it's really interesting, but also teaching them how do you use an inner ear and how are you able to listen to that, and hearing yourself and how it feels to hear others like directly in your ear as you're playing and singing, and how difficult that is. We're working on the basics first.
Nice.
And then we're going to work towards them working together as an actual band collaboratively.
Nice.
So.
I had an orchestra director in high school that would always say that you need to practice like listening across the orchestra. So same kind of concept, like when you're playing by yourself, you can listen to yourself, but when you're playing with others, you really have to be conscious of them and the people around you. So.
Oh, yeah. You got to stay on pace together and just being able to see what sounds good together, especially with this whoever we have singing as a vocalist. Them working with the specific band as well affects them based on the key that they want to sing in, and determining that they don't know how to do that quite yet. So we're going to work on all of those things together, and instrumental work. We'll work on that as we continue to move forward. But it's been pretty fun so far. So
very nice. Glad to hear it.
What have you been working on recently?
So my highlight of the last couple weeks was Godfrey Daniels, a local listening room locally here in the Lehigh Valley, located on 4th Street here in Southside Bethlehem. They had their opening weekend after being closed for the last year. It was absolutely wonderful, and I got to sit in and volunteer for them. I love volunteering there because I love listening to the shows. There were some great bands coming through, so definitely check them out to see what they have going on. But I also wanted to share that if you are interested in volunteering with Godfrey Daniels, you can head over to their website. It's godfreydaniels.org/volunteer-opportunities.
Speaking of volunteer opportunities, Elise, you were recently recognized for your work in the art community around the Lehigh Valley by Fig Magazine, correct?
I was. I want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to Fig Magazine's new director, Kate Hughes. Thank you so much for featuring me. It was a huge honor, and it is now out everywhere. You can find the magazine, their fall 2021 arts and culture issue. It's filled with an amazing bunch of artists. The cover is way cool, so definitely go check it out. They do a great job.
We had 2 members from Allentown-based band Reservoir Hill in the studio today that had a great conversation with Ben. Here's Elise with their bio.
Reservoir Hill is an original Americana rock band co-founded by friends Dylan Flaherty and Brad Kramer. The band currently comprises of Brad Kramer on lead vocals, Tommy Pogash on bass, Dylan Flaherty on lead guitar, and Charles Kicska on drums. Formed in the winter of 2018, the band draws on their many influences to bring forth a diverse-sounding collection of songs that show many sides to their personality. Influenced by bands like Zac Brown Band, Chris Stapleton, U2, the Allman Brothers, Petty and The Heartbreakers, the Black Keys, and many more. They aim to produce lyrically driven, diverse, and catchy originals with a wide variety of covers performed in their unique style. After partnering with Lehigh Valley producer Brian J. Anthony, the band released their self-titled debut EP, Reservoir Hill, in March of 2019. Their single, Boneyard, was later nominated for Best Single for the Lehigh Valley Music Awards. They have played all over the Lehigh Valley, adding new originals and drawing large crowds at venues like ArtsQuest. In August of 2021, the band released their first full album, Desperate Times, on all streaming platforms. Now the band looks to grow their audience online and in the Northeast region.
Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. I want to have each of you guys introduce yourself individually first, just so our listeners know who they're talking to.
So I'm Brad Kramer. I'm the singer from Reservoir Hill.
I'm Dylan Flaherty. I am the guitar player. And then, obviously, I guess should I announce who's not here? Like, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then Tommy Pogash is our bass player, and Charles Kicska is our drummer. So, yeah, we met in college. And I remember we both studied bio at the time.
Yeah.
And I started humming the lick to, are you familiar with Stevie Ray Vaughan?
Yeah.
Started humming the lick to Pride and Joy. And he started coming with the bass line. And we just both looked at each other like, oh, you're into that? And he's like, yeah, I'm into that. And we just became fast friends from that.
Sure.
But at that time, yeah, I was already leaning towards more Southern rock kind of stuff at that time.
Got it.
And he was really into the metal stuff. So it took a few years before we reconvened. And I remember randomly hitting him up and being like, hey, how's everything going? He goes, we started talking a little bit. And he goes, just so you know, like, I've really got the itch to play, and the stuff you were trying to do, I'm into now. So let's do it. And that's kind of what reconnected it.
Sure.
So,
I off of our first EP, the song Boneyard.
Okay.
I wrote that song, and then I was like, I think I got something here. And I remember talking to Dylan. I was like, you got to hear the song that I wrote. And it was like instant, like, oh, and then we resurrect some of the songs, like Don't Follow Me.
Mm-hmm.
I was in other bands with him, but they were unsuccessful bands. We played rendition of that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of resurrected some of the old things, cut some of the bad lyrics, added some other stuff
Right.
into its final form now. So it's almost like it's been a work in progress for like a decade.
Oh my goodness.
yeah. And over that time, we've gotten better. I mean, that's the goal.
Sure.
Like we've both individually gotten to a point where we're pretty confident about, okay, we're always trying to improve,
Yeah.
but it's like, all right, we're not the same guys we were when we were 18. So it's like we can the things we're trying to do, we can do now.
Yeah, for
Where
sure.
it was like, I don't know how to do that. Now we have a better grasp of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear about how you guys met.
We were lab partners
Yeah.
in at Kutztown University, and I think we got put together almost. There wasn't that many people in the class.
It was random. And I remembered seeing you. They had this like thing. Everybody had to go. I was commuting. So I'm like, this is dumb. But they make you come and they make you stay overnight in this dorm and build bonds or whatever. And I walk in. I remember seeing him kind of noodling on this guitar.
Yeah.
And so I remembered him and I'm like, oh, he plays guitar. I play guitar. So, and then we were just randomly put together as lab partners.
And we both had a
Nice.
very similar sense of humor. So we just, we were, I don't want to say class clowns in the program, but the professors liked us because we would joke around. And,
Yeah.
But, yeah, and we kind of, we tried playing together a few times, and it didn't pan out initially. But then, like I said, we reconvened after a few years. And I feel like we were in a similar place at that point.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the other guys in the group, so there's Charles Kicska, who's our drummer, and Tommy Pogash is our bass player.
Yeah.
I knew Charles, and he filled in as a drummer from a previous band, and he was just he brings such levity to the situation. He's such a likable and funny guy,
Yeah.
and he was probably the most heavy-handed drummer I've ever played with. Where, I would be like, dude, can you play a little quieter? Yeah, sure. And it would still like shake the room. Like he was just, and then, so when we started the group, when we were like, you know what, let's play together this time.
Yeah.
I was really into Steely Dan at the time. So I was like, why don't we just be a duo and we'll just hire people to play our stuff? Because that's what they did. I watched this
Yeah.
documentary. I'm like, I totally bought into that. And then I was like, I know this guy who can play drums. And I said to Chuck, hey, listen, I got this guy who can really sing, and we're trying to work on this project. Would you want to, play with us and do this thing? And he's like, I'm not doing studio stuff. I'm either in a band or I'm not. And I was like, okay. So we came down. I think we played like 3 songs.
Yeah.
And it was the first time me and Brad looked at each other. I'm like, okay, we're a trio now.
Yeah.
Like we just, it was such a perfect fit.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was just like, we just looked at each other like, this is the guy. Like, okay, we don't need another drummer.
Totally.
And I'm like, we're not a duo anymore. We're a trio now. And then Brad goes, he's like, I got this guy down the road I'm friends with named Tommy. Tommy, he plays bass. And I think it was like a week later, he came in and we played the same 3 songs. And then we looked at each other, we're like, okay, we're a 4-piece now. It was, and I said this to Tommy the other day. I was like, I literally said, that was the first time playing in all these different projects where I felt like I can just play guitar and everyone's good at what they do
Yeah.
and I don't have to teach people a song. I don't have to tell people when to stop and start. Everyone knows what they're doing. And I was like, it was the very first time. It was like, it felt right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a rare
Yeah,
feeling.
Brothers for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Very fast, too.
Yeah.
And, you know, like he's known Tommy a long time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've known Tommy since 11th grade.
Wow.
So that's like 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and we were in a metal band together. He played bass. I screamed. I didn't play guitar. Then I did, but I wasn't good enough because we had this like crazy metal guitar, so I couldn't keep up. But yeah, no, and I knew him since then. And when he dusted off his old bass that he was playing in our metal band, and hopped on when we were starting this new one up, and it just clicked. And then Chuck, about, I don't know, what'd you say, maybe like a year later, we used to practice at my parents' house. They were gracious enough to let us practice in their basement. And he's talking to my dad, because Chuck loves to talk, right?
Yeah.
And he's a salesman. So he's talking up my dad and talking about his grandfather's garage. And my dad recognized the name. He's like, "You mean this garage?" And Chuck's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, that's my mother's cousin.
Oh my gosh.
So we're related."
It's like, what are the odds of,
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
it's like, what are the odds of that happening?
Yeah. Oh
But-
my gosh.
Yeah, it was a fast fit. It was just, it felt right. And ever since then, you know, we've had people come and go. And, but now we're kind of back to the point where we're 4-piece again.
Mm.
And it just feels right again. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's, you know, we like to play with other people and bring people in, but I feel like it's always going to be
Yeah.
that. But even our name started with Brad's parents' house.
Yeah.
We were just, I think the hardest thing about playing in a band is starting the name,
Sure.
because every band, if you try and force a name, it sucks, and every good name's been taken.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I mean?
fair.
And so it's like, and I remember just saying, I think we should just think of something that means something to us,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then when people hear our music, they'll identify with that name.
Mm.
And I don't remember who suggested it, but we're like, why not Reservoir Hill? And that's the road I grew up on. And so that's where my parents live.
And that's where we practice.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that's where we practiced. And it sounded like, you know, we're doing this Southern rock, you know,
Yeah.
country kind of band. And I'm like, that sounds, you know, pretty in line with what we're trying
yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
So
And then I remember the band, my brother used to listen to Cypress Hill, and I was like, well, if they can do it, we can do it. So I was like,
and then we looked it up, and we're only competing with this, I think it's a sitcom or a drama in Canada or something like that called Reservoir Hill.
so we're like, all right, it's a good name.
So
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going off of, we've established that both of you guys have similar music tastes.
Mm-hmm.
How do your music tastes go along with the rest of the band members?
So Chuck's weird because sometimes he likes the same stuff, but then sometimes he's like, I can't stand that. He's like really like, if you heard his playlist, you'd expect to see him with like a mullet and a T-top like Camaro.
Yeah.
He likes Brian Johnson. He likes like oldies. Like just that's where he's pretty much focused. And then
No, I would disagree with that, because I think he surprises me with some of the stuff he pulls out. Like he's got a pretty eclectic.
oh yeah,
He likes a lot of 80s
Yeah.
music, and then he'll listen to, he likes the hard rock stuff. He listens to metal. But like he's a big Bryan Adams fan, massive Bryan Adams fan.
Yeah.
And so, everyone covers Summer '69,
Sure.
and he goes, "Nah, I think we should do Run to You." And I like Bryan Adams, and I didn't even know the song. And I pulled it up. I'm like, this is a kick-ass song. And
Oh,
then-
yeah.
So he pulls out of his hat some really interesting choices for covers
Yeah.
that I'm like, initially I'm like, wait, what? And then I'll look it up and I'm like, wow, this actually is insanely popular. And then,
Oh,
I
my
never even heard of
goodness.
it. But
Yeah.
Tommy metal, country,
yeah.
and he's really getting into pop music lately. Like he
Okay.
likes a lot of modern stuff too. But
Sure.
Yeah,
But-
he's more on the mainstream country that he, as far as the country that he likes.
Mhm.
I'm not a humongous fan of that. And so we clash there sometimes. He's like, I want to cover Kenny Chesney. Meanwhile, we're over here listening to like Coulter Wall and stuff like that. And I think he's starting to come around to some of the more, I like to call it like a revival, country revival.
Sure.
You know, with the like Coulter Wall and Sturgill Simpson, Tyler
Yeah.
Childers, all of them. That's got that old soul kind of feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost become like alternative country.
Very cool.
And that's kind of the direction we're starting to head into. That we're like, because a lot of the rock stuff, like, there's really no guitar in rock music today. Outside of bands like maybe the Foo Fighters, the Black Keys, or some of that.
Yeah.
There's not a ton of it. It's a lot of synth.
It is a lot of synth.
And I like 80s synth, all, you know, new wave kind of stuff.
Sure.
But really, the guitars have gone into country music.
Yeah.
And when you listen to, you know, you have the Jason Aldean, Luke Bryan stuff, but we're much more into the Tyler Childers and Jason Isbell, and I mean, Chris Stapleton's in there, and it's more raw. It's like they've taken the rock stuff that people liked and brought it over to the. That's where it went.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where they write about real stuff,
Yeah.
and you know that grabbed me. Where I would listen to Tyler Childers, and I'm like, this guy's songwriting is next level. Jason Isbell, I'm like, he's not just writing about, and there's nothing wrong with it, but those kind of platitudes, the pickup trucks, the beer on the Friday night kind of thing, that's all fun, and that there's a place for that.
Yeah.
But they're also writing about stuff that's like more personal, and I'm like, that's the stuff I really like.
Sure.
So that's kind of where we're headed in you know, in the next phase of our stuff.
Yeah. Taking it back to the Southern blues roots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Our next, we actually, I think we might have enough, or maybe just a couple more songs needed, but we're about ready to start working on our next album.
Wow.
Like,
that's
even-
exciting.
And this next one's a lot more rooted in country.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, probably gonna get some pedal steeling on there somewhere.
Fiddle,
Maybe a little
harmonica.
bit of banjo, but deep down in the background.
Sure.
But
Oh,
yeah,
that's exciting.
and that's the cool thing about the group is that, you know, Desperate Times, you know, we just dropped this album, but we've been playing some of these songs for like a year and a half, testing them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll oftentimes you know, we're at the point now where half of our songs are originals at this point. And one of the biggest feedbacks we've gotten everywhere we play is your originals. People really like the originals. They like it.
That's awesome.
And you know, it might sound a little conceited, but not a lot of people say that. And
No, definitely not.
and so since we started, that was always our biggest feedback. Hey, your covers they're okay, but the originals, that's really where you guys are at. And we would often test new songs
Yeah.
to see, okay, like we have 3 songs here. What grabs the audience? And then those were kind of the ones, okay, like weed this one out, put that on the album because there's something that, like the audience is responding to that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the songs in Desperate Times, that's what it was. It was like all the songs that the audience was like, that's, you know, we get the biggest applauses for, and then we would put that on the album. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
It's fun to like roll right into an original.
Yeah.
You can see the people in the crowd like enjoying it, and then at the end be like, I pulled a sneaky one on you. That's an original. And then they're like, oh my god.
yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
It's such a great feeling
it is.
to
Oh,
like
for sure.
see people like loving your music.
Totally. I want to talk about the album cover.
It's really funny you say that.
So my wife actually painted that on the Spotify, YouTube Music, whatever, iTunes. That album cover is only part of the painting.
Oh, wow.
It's the top half of the painting, and then if we were ever to put out a vinyl or a CD, the back would be the bottom half of the painting.
Very cool.
And so she originally painted that. It's kind of like hard times, corruption in the world. Like it's probably, I would say probably 4 by 2.5 foot. It's it's a large painting, and she added all this stuff in there to like when you get up real close, you can see it like ants carrying dollar bills and stuff like that.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so, I think Dylan was over and he saw it, and he's like, "Oh, that's a really cool painting." And my wife Sia, she's like, "Oh, you know, this is what it's about." And he's like, "That's perfect for like Desperate Times." So he's like, "Can we use it as the cover?" And it was just kind of this perfect marriage between these two ideas.
Yeah.
Because the album was personifying, you know, all these different desperate times, you know,
Totally.
as the title would say.
Yeah.
And the painting was personifying that too.
The bottom half of the painting is actually, if you go to our Instagram, she took a beautiful photo of the painting, and the bottom half is actually a flood with all of these things being washed away. And I was like, that is perfect for, but when I was kind of talking to Brad when we were designing the album cover, I was like, I can't get the whole thing on there. And I was like, but like we were talking about, if we made it a full vinyl, we would include that into the full vinyl.
Yeah. I
And-
see that now.
It's beautiful. And honestly, I always liked vinyl records because on its own, it's a piece of art. Like when you open it up,
100%.
and I miss that. And we didn't want to do. I love Pink Floyd at every album cover is this unique piece of art, and we didn't want to
Sure.
do the traditional let's stand against the wall and stare off in the distance band photo. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's like it's just we wanted to try and do something that stood out,
Yeah, definitely.
and like you can look at that and think you have your own perception of what that means,
Totally.
as opposed to like, you know, what we maybe initially intended it. So that's kind of our thing now. We want to make that, so have her regularly do our album covers and make
Yeah.
unique pieces like that.
So that's something that you guys are going to continue doing?
Yeah.
That's
I'm also
awesome.
an artist, and I had some ideas for possibly bringing some of. I had a pen and ink thing
Okay.
in my mind. We'll see if it actually comes out. But you know, it's just we want to use all of our resources that
Sure.
we can, and also provide like this a unique experience to people that come and listen to our music. So whether it's the artwork or
Yeah,
obviously the music as well, but
totally.
you know, it's just like my best friend actually did our graphic arts on like to kind of line it up and give it that sleek look then.
Yeah.
And I just really miss being able to open up a CD and page through that or like look at the albums.
Totally.
Yep.
Totally.
Adding that little flair to it, I think makes it different.
Yeah.
There's one of my favorite bands is The Band, and their album cover music from Big Pink, which is like their big breakthrough album, was drawn. I'm pretty sure it was drawn by Bob Dylan. And
Wow.
it's you know, Bob Dylan's no artist, but the idea that came from them,
Yeah,
it came from him.
definitely.
It was like I always thought that was cool. And I'm also a big believer, like I like we have like a team. So like we have Brian's our producer, Brian Anthony, right? We have Rory
O'Donnell.
who's our videographer. He does all our videos. We have multiple people who do photos for us. But we have Brad and his wife Sia who do our artwork. So it's like a team
Yeah.
that's working on this, not just the four guys in the group.
Totally.
So I always like that idea. That's like it's almost like a family business. You know what I mean? It kind of has that
Totally.
vibe to it. So it's
Totally.
like I always love that stuff. So
Brad, what other mediums do you work in?
So I do jewelry. So
Okay.
I do wire wrap jewelry as well as electroform jewelry. I do paint flat and miniature painting.
Okay.
So my nerd sneaking out a little bit here, but I do that as well. And then I work wood and leather. as well.
Very cool. So you're all over the place.
Yeah.
That's super cool. How do you think that affects your ability to think in terms of music and maybe even taking it beyond music?
So I was diagnosed with ADHD in college, and part of that is the hyper focus, hyperactivity. Like it's almost like a superpower, but it also has your kryptonite attached to it. You can hyper focus on something to the point
Sure.
where it's almost you get a mastery of it that you've been working on it for years. But with that, I might do that and then set it down for like, I don't know, 6 months.
Yeah.
So it's like when it comes to writing music, when I'm on a train, I dive into it, but sometimes it takes some time to foster that again
Sure.
to get I don't know the perfect conditions for me to pop out my next song.
Yeah.
Whereas Dylan's a songwriting machine, so
Well, when you have something that you would like to express, how do you determine which art form you would like to express it through?
I think it really depends from situation to situation. I work a lot like in the jewelry, so I'll take certain rocks that have certain meanings. I mean, I'm not into the metaphysical thing, but I like to combine them together to kind of make a more meaningful
Sure.
piece. And then I'm huge on sustainability and quality products and things like that.
Yeah.
So I got into the leather working more so to make myself the quality items that I wanted without having to buy them, basically, because you didn't have the money to do that. So, but I want a wallet that's going to last me, and I can give it to my grandkids.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
So I mean, and then when it comes to like painting, it's really just random thoughts that would fruit into like a flat work or something like that.
Sure.
I'm all over the place, and it's hard to say what would drive me to doing one medium over another.
Sure.
Other than the fact that I might be more inclined to be working in this medium this week than next week.
Yeah. It's more that hyper focus. Whatever you think about in a given week that you're already working on, that's how you express it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Did you make the piece that you're wearing right now?
I did. Yeah. This is
very cool.
This is I wear this all the time. It's a black bear claw that belonged to my grandfather.
Oh my goodness.
And a piece of Campitos turquoise and a Herkimer diamond.
Wow.
So,
that's
he's
beautiful.
made me stuff, and every year he'll make me something for like my birthday or Christmas.
Yeah.
And I always say to him, he is, ever since I've known him,
Yeah.
honestly one of the most artistically talented people I've ever met.
Wow.
And I've like he can sing, he can play guitar, he can draw, he can craft. He's a handy guy. He's also phenomenal with the grill. But it's like he's I'm not kidding, but he's one of the most talented people I know.
Yeah.
But like he said, he tends to go from one thing to the next, and so sometimes I have to be like reel him in and get him back in, because
Sure.
when he is focused, he picks things up super fast.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the kind of the thing. It's like, okay, we'll reel that back in, and he just gets better and better and better every time.
Totally.
When he realigns back, like with writing, every song just goes up a notch. You know what I mean? Because he's building off of the last thing he did. So it's like, it's funny because like he's super talented, and then I see that even with Chuck. Chuck is same way, like very fast with picking up stuff.
Yeah.
He's a good salesman. He's good at golf. He's good at, he boxes. He's a good drummer. Like, it's just everything he picks up. He's like, yeah, I feel like doing this. And he just and his wife always, she jokes, I can't stand it. Cause like, he's good at it, and like makes her look bad cause he picks it up so quick. And, it's just, there's a lot of talent like that. It's just different.
Sure.
Everyone's different, So it's like, but he is honestly one of the most creative people I know. So it's
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dylan's strength, like he's kind of like a visionary when it because he's got this idea of where the band should be, and it's aligned with the ideals that we want as a band, and he's very good at placing the momentum in direction.
Yeah,
I think he knows where to give the love and where to give the
I'm a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So they, but what my whole logic behind it is, I'm never telling, at my friends. I and it's gonna sound lame, but I genuinely want my friends to do well.
sure.
And I never, because some people will knock you because they're jealous of you, and they don't want you to do better than them. But it's like, I'm always looking at it like, hey, you know what? Like, you're really good at this, but that kind of sucked. So stop doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm only saying that because I want you to do better.
Totally.
And most people won't even say, they'll just go, yeah, it was all great. And then they'll just, and then when they walk away, they'll go, oh, that wasn't, what I thought.
Sure.
So it's like, whenever I talk to them, and I'm even hard on myself, but it's only because I'm like, I see like with him, like I see, oh my, like I remember being in college and being like, this guy's singing metal. And I'm like, there's way more chicks who would listen to rock. And nothing against metal, but I was just like, dude, do you realize you could be the lead singer of a rock band? And I'm like, and he's like, yeah, but I like metal. And I'm like, I get that. But I'm like, and I could see the potential. He was just jokingly singing. And I'm like, this guy can sing. This guy, he's really good. He was good at the screaming stuff too.
Yeah.
But I was like, this guy can sing. Why aren't you, you know what I mean? And I was like, I just saw that. And then once he started to do it, it was like, now everyone else can see it.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
So yeah,
Totally.
I feel like that you gotta You can be honest without being mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, totally. I'm very similar to you in that way. And I've worked with other people on projects that are similar to your spot. And I've noticed that perfectionism and that reining it in and really having a narrow focus helps to make the best of everyone, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And that focusing as a group, when everybody is so incredibly creative, there may be a million ideas floating around that everybody wants to do, but it takes which 5 are we going to figure out the best way to do?
And Tommy's a lot like that. Tommy's our bass player. He's a very competitive guy, not in a bad way, but he's like, he wants to be good.
Sure.
And he's also what I love about him is since he joined the band, I remember when he joined and I was like, this guy's a kick-ass bass player. And then he went with Brian Anthony. And Brian Anthony he's a producer, but by virtue of being a producer, he's good at a lot of instruments. He can sing, phenomenal organ player, phenomenal bass player. He could play drums. Really good guitar player. And he actually played some of the licks and some of the songs. And I was like, he's like, do you mind if I play some of these licks? I'm like, absolutely, play it. I don't care. And but Tommy goes to Brian and recognizes this guy knows what he's doing. And Brian just gives him a little bit of instruction. And he immediately applies it. He's so good at taking what you say to him and immediately working into his skill.
Sure.
And if you look at the evolution of his play from when we started to now, it's night and day.
Wow.
He's gotten so much better. And he was already good. But he's gotten so much better in realizing this is what my role is. This is what I need to do. And he's also probably even more of a perfectionist than I am. So sometimes him and I will butt heads a little bit, but for good reason, because we both want it to be good.
Totally.
And he'll say, like, even with me, where I'm like, that's okay, it sounds all right. He'll go, no, that's getting off kilter. And he's the kind of the whip in the sense in the band where he kind of knows, like, guys, this sounds sloppy. And he reels in even more. And but his ability to take information and apply it immediately, and is unparalleled. He's very few people I've seen do that. And in a very short period of time, he's gotten a lot better as a musician because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's awesome. When it comes to playing live and shows that you like doing, what are a couple of your favorite spots to play locally?
So there's a spot that might be opening back up again. That was one of our favorite spots called the Linville Hotel.
Okay.
So
In New Tripoli.
Yeah. We heard they're opening again. It seems like that's going to happen. So we're
They
excited
closed because of COVID.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah.
We're excited to get back to them. The people there are great. Like, I play bagpipe too.
Oh, very cool.
And we would play the St. Patrick's Day party, and I'd sneak it out and fire it up, like, in between our sets.
Oh, that's awesome.
I swear the floor was going to fall out of that place. These people were stamping so hard.
Yep.
So great times there.
Oh, man.
That is one of our, that's like, we would say that's our home base. Like, that would be the place. That's our, like, okay, let's go test some stuff out. Let's go to the Linville Hotel and play there.
Sure.
And I would say that's one. I have to tell you, Seven Sirens is another one where we played all over Bethlehem, and there's a lot of great spots in Bethlehem, but that place, the openness of the place, the atmosphere, the service there,
Totally.
the food, the drinks, everything about that place, it was like, wow, this is, and it's a really good spot for us to do stripped down stuff. So
Definitely.
we're breaking into more of taking our songs and going more acoustic with them, but it's the people there are looking for that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a great place to play. So, that's to me, that's one of my favorite places that we've added. We're playing there in October, I think the 22nd. I have to look at that.
That's it.
And that has become one of, like, I want to play there regularly.
Sure.
Yeah, it's an excellent place. I'm trying to think.
Anything involved with ArtsQuest.
Yeah.
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 Because the people that we work with are great. We like putting on the shows for Bethlehem's beautiful down there.
Oh, definitely.
So it's nice to play on a beautiful night
Yeah.
in the shadow of steel stacks.
Yeah, definitely. And you guys played Music Fest too, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome.
It was our first time this year, and we're hoping to be back next year. It was a lot of fun. So
It's kind of weird because you think to yourself, like, maybe things happen for a reason, because we were supposed to play last year
Okay.
and we were supposed to follow Willie Nelson.
Oh my goodness.
We were going to be like when people walk out from when we were going to be playing.
Yeah.
Which would have been great because that's very much the audience that,
You
likes
want.
our stuff. Right.
Totally.
And it was a weird time. Wasn't it? Was like 11 o'clock or 9 o'clock?
It was like 10 to midnight
Oh
or
my
something like
gosh.
that. It was a late show.
Very
it was
late.
like the last one on the stage.
Sure.
But we would have gotten that Willie Nelson crowd because they would have been walking right that way to go to their cars.
Yeah.
And then we were like, oh man, this sucks. Coronavirus, all this kind of stuff, right? We didn't know. I in the back of my mind, I had a feeling like Music Fest was going to happen somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the guys were like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work out. Maybe they're not going to do it. And once they got the email and we wound up playing leader plots and what was it? It was 6 to 8:30. And it was like,
It was a great slot.
it was like 6:30,
that's
8:30.
amazing.
And it was like, there was easily 1,000 people there.
Yeah, that's prime.
Oh my God. It was the first Sunday and in the shaded area. It was like, it all came together perfectly.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. Yeah, you get the tourists and the locals eating dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was like probably 600 people that stayed sitting in front of us for the entirety of that
That's
show.
awesome.
And not to mention the people that were hearing us from the street, because where that's situated, you got Main
Sure.
Street behind you and everything.
Sure.
But that was
so much fun.
probably the best show we've ever played. Like as far as
Up to that
crowd
point,
energy,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Sure.
crowd
Yeah.
energy. It was just great. And then we also love playing at Univest in Quakertown.
Yeah.
It's just this huge stage, so it makes you feel like you're something, because
Yeah, like Trace
Definitely.
Atkins played there.
yeah, exactly, and the Beach Boys.
The Beach Boys, yeah.
And so
Oh my
you
gosh.
you're on this huge stage. You got all this room to run
Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
and you hire a sound guy, and they just blast you out over this green sea of people, and it's just
Yeah.
like
And that's a largely outdoor field, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. The outdoor stuff, it has it's a lot of fun. We just got done playing Forks Community Days
Okay.
with our friends, the Stephanie Johnson Band, and they invited us out to play with them.
Yeah.
And the outdoor stuff, I mean, it's so, you can crank your amp. You don't have to worry about
Totally.
being in a tiny room and everyone's got to turn down. You can, blast in. You feel like a rock star. You're on stage and professional sound guys doing your stuff. And
Yeah.
I always joke like, you made it when you don't have to carry your own crap. You don't have to do your own sound. It's like that's the biggest pain in the butt about doing it.
Sure.
And this year we've only had to set up our own sound once.
Yeah.
So
Right. Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys own most of the equipment that you use to play live, or do you rent?
No,
Yeah,
we own it.
we have it. It would be suitable for a large room.
Okay.
PA system with some floor monitors. But we have a guy that we work with, Dave.
Bednarski.
Yeah, he has some nice stuff.
That's awesome.
And he's been doing our sound when it wasn't provided this year for a lot of different events.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy that makes us sound good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it, like I said, we talk about that team thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, man, like he does a great job. He's a great guy. And, it's like, we'll keep using you. Like he's always good to us.
Totally.
We're good to him. And it's
Totally.
like, it's a good fit. Like I like that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. When you have a team that works together so well, there's no reason to break it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like I said, you want each other to do well,
Yeah, definitely.
and it's like, okay, like we're helping each other out here. So it's a good
Yeah.
vibe. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, you said something earlier that I was interested to explore a little bit more. And you talked about stripping down some of your stuff to play it live. Is that something you do for all live performances, or is that something you pick and choose depending on the venue at?
The venue.
yeah, it's like acoustic set. So like Seven Sirens, for example, would be a more stripped down set. Though I think there would be space there to do a full band thing. It gets really loud.
Sure.
So when you strip it down and Chuck might be on a box drum and we're more guitar driven,
Yeah.
we wouldn't necessarily play all the rip roaring solos that's going on during.
Okay.
But it's a more mellow experience
Sure.
because of the venue.
Yeah. Now,
Lost Taverns like that too.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's another cool spot to play. But it's, a lot of these places got to deal with sound ordinance. Like I always say
Totally.
that it's like a lot of these places. You can ask most musicians, like every room is different because they're not built for music.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also like the idea of us stripping it down because it gives you a different experience.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
so you're hearing the song in a different way. I love when bands do that. So
Yeah, and it keeps you guys sane too.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Switching it up a little
Yeah,
bit.
we played on WDIY,
Yeah.
and we did our stripped down set for that. So that worked really well for that as well, because like we're in this room and we're
that's
trying
awesome.
not to blow the windows out.
Totally.
Yeah, so yeah. But other than that, I mean, what I'm excited about too is like we talked about going more. We're like the next thing we're working on is going more rootsy, Western country, Southern rock kind of.
Yeah.
And like I was just telling him before, we're adding dobro, so like a resonator. We're adding fiddle. We're adding pedal steel. Like I love when bands, like you see, like it was like watching MTV Unplugged back in the day. Like it's a different vibe, and it's like I'm looking. We were talking about it, like you be able to get a whole new audience doing that, as opposed to we have our full band stuff that we can rock out, but then you get into people that maybe like the bluegrass kind of vibe. you know? So yeah, one of my biggest hiccups and all that kind of stuff. One of the big fears we have live is like our gear always faltering.
Sure.
And we were funny thing about Music Fest, when we played, I just had said we have this great guy playing with us named Aiden Berg, who's been playing piano with us, and he's going to Jersey to play with this really, really good wedding band. And he played with us all summer, and he's a great guy. And I said to him right before we walked on stage, I'm like, he was like, you nervous? I'm like, no, I don't really get nervous anymore. I just get nervous about my gear. And we go up, we set up to play. And I said, I like when we first started.
Yeah.
The very first time I ever played, I was sweating and my hands were shaking. This is how bad it was. It was in English class. It's the first time I ever played a song. I was trying to impress some chick, and who remained nameless. And I played a Dire Straits song. I played Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, cheesy.
And but it's one of the most perfect songs I've ever written. And then so I was shaking. And you go from that, now I'm like, I don't get nervous anymore. And it's like, you get a little bit of adrenaline before you go on, but once it kicks off, you're good.
Yeah.
But then, so I said that to him. I'm like, yeah, I only worry about my gear. And Brad's about to count us in. There's 1,000 people in front of us. And he goes, 1, 2, 3, and I went, whoop, and the thing just died. And I just went white.
Oh my gosh.
You could have, like blew me over. I was just like, I was ready to fall over. I was so like, it was probably a minute.
Yeah, it was probably a minute or two, but it felt like an hour.
It felt like an eternity.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, all of a sudden I just start sweating. Like it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And the sound guy came up and was able to rig the, okay, like I've been here, done that. That team that was over there was excellent. And swapped out the cable and we were good to go.
Stage manager redid the intros. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
We kicked it off.
Perfect. And it was like, but it's like those are the things when you play live that like having a guy do your sound, having someone, it just takes all that stress away. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And we played we played at a golf course. We were down in their club and we were playing, and all of a sudden PA stops working, and we could not figure out what was going on. I think we were drawing too much power from them.
Okay.
And it just would not work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we ended up using our monitors as the
Our
PA system.
Oh my gosh.
And we're just like, I was like, what the heck is going on? And then we go back to our practice spot, hook everything else up.
Totally
Works fine.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it's
Of course.
Yep.
And
it's just that's the thing that you only learn from doing it.
Sure.
There's no blueprint. And that's the one thing, like playing in old bands. Like when we went into this band, I was like, nope, I want that thing and this thing and this thing. And they were like, but this thing does this. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm all about convenience because you just learn. Like, it sounds stupid, but loading the van, you don't know how to properly load it until you do it. And then you don't realize or how many extra cables you need, or we need extra this, that you don't. It's only when the thing craps out on you and you've been relying on that your entire practice time, and you're like, oh my God, what do we do now? Then you just make mental. So it's like all those growing pains. Just make you only learn it from doing it. There's no blueprint for that
Definitely.
kind of stuff. So
luckily, knock on wood, we haven't had an issue so bad we weren't able to perform. So
Yeah.
I think I'd probably
good.
just stand up on top of the bar with my guitar and yell really loud if we like lost all sound.
It was, yeah.
Oh my goodness. What are your musical aspirations?
You know, we talk about this a lot. We're all blue collar guys. We, you know,
Yeah.
we work, we have families, we're starting families, you know, and as a matter of fact, as of this recording, you know, our bass player, Tommy, is soon expecting his first child.
Wow.
So it's like, it's very exciting. And,
Yeah.
you know, we love playing. And, you know, I told him this when we started the group, that music is so different than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It used to be you go on tour, you would try and get with a bigger band and go on tour and travel the country and garner an audience that way. You don't really need to do that anymore. And I can't tell you how many friends I'm friends with, people who are in bands who go on tour and come back broke. Because it's not what it was. You know, Leonard Skinner opened for The Who. And that's how they got notoriety. They you know, okay, would take a chance in this band and they get big.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that anymore. Everything's at the palm of your fingertips with cell phones and Spotify and all.
Totally.
So it's like every band I try to start, I'm like, you got to get into that. You got to get on YouTube. You got to get on Spotify. And I was like, we can be a completely independent band and run everything ourselves and publish everything ourselves.
Yeah.
There was a band, they're still playing. They're called Boyce Avenue. And they do acoustic covers,
Yeah.
but they do their own spin. And they can control with analytics now. You can see where your audience is, who they
100%.
are. And I'm like, instead of going aimlessly across the country, you could build an audience online and in your area and go, hey, you know what? We got some fans in Kentucky. We got some fans in Tennessee and, you know, I don't know, Pennsylvania, right? Let's book a little tour. Let's do 2 shows here, 2 shows there. Sell out tickets. We keep all our own money because we don't need a record label.
Sure.
We just market it ourselves, and you can build an audience and become an independent band
Yeah.
with a decent following. And that's always been, we've talked about being our goal, is like we want to grow as an independent band
Sure.
to the point where, hey, if we're able to make money and fund what we're doing and pay some bills and grow it out, to me is like, that would be the dream, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
What does that marketing and promotion look like for you guys not being with a label?
It's a
lot of work.
lot of work.
I
Yeah,
could
it's-
imagine.
We're not nearly as good as we could be with that, and it's hard to get your stuff out there without spending money.
Sure.
Right.
I have a friend that owns his own multimedia marketing company,
Yeah.
and I'm like, hey, you know, how much is it going to cost? You know, for you to push our stuff?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, we start at $10,000 a week, and I'm like,
Yeah.
$10,000 a week. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going back to sharing stuff all over my Facebook. Like, no,
now, like, it used to be hashtags work.
Yeah.
They don't really work anymore.
Not
like
really.
they really want you to pay for the ads, and
Yeah.
so we kind of have a system in place where we take a percentage of our money and invest it into band stuff, ads, recording, that kind of thing.
Sure.
And that's really the next frontier for us, is where we're like, you know, we play out, we do a good job, people like our songs. People who actually listen to the album
Yeah.
will say, I like these songs from the album. They genuinely like it. And I'm like, okay, then we need to get it in front of more people. And so we've talked about this a lot. Like, that's kind of the next thing on top of individually improving our sound and everything.
Yeah.
Is marketing. It's just like you gotta in this world but you can do it yourself.
Definitely.
You can put the money up yourself.
Definitely.
Labels, they're kind of dying now because it's like they used to be a bank. That's what they would do.
They were. Yeah, exactly.
They give you money, you got to pay it back, and you hear stories of your favorite artists being like, "We're broke because we're paying back all this money to this thing, and you don't need to do that."
Yeah.
So it makes it much.
Yeah.
It's tough in the sense that there's way more competition. There's, but if you can cut through the mix a little bit and put the work in, you can cut through and carve a niche for yourself.
Yeah.
And get a good audience. So
Yeah, definitely.
Just content.
Do you guys sell vinyl or merch at all?
we do sell merch. We sell
t-shirts right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to get some vinyl, but it's expensive to get in on.
Their pressing is expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're doing that. We're adding some so we actually, if you go to our website, reservoirhill.band, you can see our logo. We just got this new logo. We redesigned our logo, made new shirts. So then you can either, if you come to our shows, it's $20 a shirt.
That's really good.
And
we get
so
we get them made locally too.
Yeah.
I forget which firm makes them.
Yeah.
But our drummer's handling that, but they are made locally.
Oh, very cool.
So support the community.
Yeah.
We're going to be adding hats to that and that kind of stuff. And then we're also setting up a kind of like online tip jar Patreon kind of thing, where in the coming months we're going to work to do that because, people, we get asked, like, we have a Venmo, we have things at our shows, and people are very generous, and they'll go, we like, there is
Definitely.
an audience out there who wants to support local artists.
Totally.
So
Totally.
that's kind of the next thing we're going to add to that too.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah. Well, if people want to find each of you guys individually on social media, where can they find you at?
So my Instagram is just at @dflaherty, FLAHERTY. And then our band Instagram is Reservoir_Hill. Our Facebook is facebook.com/Reservoir Hill Band. Our YouTube, you could just type Reservoir Hill and Reservoir Hill Music. You can find that there.
That's
I'm
awesome.
Brad Kramer or Brad_Kramer_music on Instagram.
Nice.
I'll post some solo stuff on there as well.
Yeah. And then you guys have a show coming up.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And Seven
Actually,
Sirens, yeah.
Seven Sirens on the 22nd of October.
And then
Nice.
we're also looking to play Bacon Fest the weekend of November 6th, I believe it is.
Okay.
So you can go to reservoirhill.band and you can see our tour dates on there. See our bio, and you can also see our videos. The links to all of our stuff is on our stuff there, Spotify, etc.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thanks
having us.
for
It was a
having
lot
us.
of fun.
Thank you. Brad and Dylan, thank you so much for coming on and repping Reservoir Hill on the show today. It was great to have you guys in and talk. Here's Casey with our opportunity for the week.
Our opportunity for the week is Artoberfest Art in the Park Festival, which will be happening on Saturday, October 9th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., which will be happening at Musner Park, 22nd and Northampton Streets, Easton, PA. Forks Area Art Society's Artoberfest features art and fine crafts by talented area artists as well as Crayola Kids Corner and food vendors. The rain date will be October 10th, and for additional information, please visit the website www.forksart.org.
Thanks for tuning in to the Lehigh Valley Arts Podcast, a Steel Pixel original series. Don't forget to like the podcast, leave us a review, and follow us on both social media and streaming services at Lehigh Valley Arts Podcast.
Dark hair flows from her shoulders to her back. I look in her eyes where the brown meets black. She don't know why. She's nervous all the time. She feels blue. She stands up in the room. She says, "Baby, hold me close tonight. Baby, hold me close tonight." She says, "Baby, hold me close. Never let me go. Never let me go." Her body's covered by the warmth of her